On today's Solo Sunday News, the latest on Zack Ryder's WWE return. Several TNA contracts are up soon. Bill Goldberg no shows a signing appearance, and Mercedes becomes 13 belts Mone. Hello and welcome to WhatCulture Wrestling, the Solo Sunday News. Myself, Andrew Ballard. I hope you're good, I hope you're well, and I hope your weekend is going as well as possible. Mine's just been a very stuffy, bunged up, dodgy throat sort of a weekend, so yay for that. Anyways, let's get into wrestling chatter. And let's start with the latest on Matt Cardona's status, or Zack Ryder's status, or Matt Cardona if you watched NXT the other week, but Zack Ryder if you watched SmackDown on Friday. SmackDown saw Zack Ryder back in a WWE ring for the first time in 5 years, at least in a main roster ring. And it was very much Zack Ryder announced as Zack Ryder in Zack Ryder gear with Zack Ryder merch into Zack Ryder's old radio entrance theme, or at least a remix version of that song. And so many fans have been speculating whether this appearance, which was a first round loss to LA Knight in the Last Time Is Now tournament, whether that was it just a one-off, or whether Matt Cardona Broski was back in WWE, a proper full-time return. On top of that, there was also the classic point photo of Triple H and the Deathmatch King, the indie god, backstage. Plus, there was Zack Ryder merchandise as well. It is now available on WWEshop.com. However, despite that, it looks like Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, has not signed with WWE. And now this comes from Fightful Select, and their sources were both WWE and also from Matt Cardona's side. He is not signed with WWE right now, though WWE sources confirm that there is a merchandise deal in place, hence why there is Zack Ryder merchandise now on WWEshop.com. Go and buy yourself some t-shirts. Why not? I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm not on commission or anything. Although if you want to pay me WWE, pay me apart from the extra stuff you give us to write positive stories about you, then, obviously this could change. And I'm sure, if that Zack Ryder merchandise sells well in WWE, they're clearly going to be keen to bring him back. And, Cardona did great on Friday, which is, that's a weird thing to say. As a dude who's been absolutely busting his ass, man, on the indies, TNA, GCW, the NWA, House of Glory, wherever, he's been busting his backside for the last 5 years. So, of course, he's going to look great. But you have to remember, there are some people who say, in this instance, they only watch WWE. There are some people who aren't keeping up with things online, aren't keeping up with spoilers or news or whatever, or what people are doing away from just that bubble of what they watch on TV for, a couple of hours on a Monday or a couple of hours on a Friday. And so for those people, this might be the first time that they've seen Matt Cardona or Zack Ryder since he left WWE in 2020. And so in terms of making an impression, I guess a first impression, but it's not really a first impression. But for those people who've not been keeping up with Cardona, the point I'm making is he would have looked great, where it's like, oh God, where's this guy been for 5 years? What's he been doing? He looks absolutely jacked. He is slightly tanned, and his work is great, and it's just his whole personality comes through. The other side of that as well, I guess, is that you have to ask, does Matt Cardona want to return to WWE? He's made a point of not signing lengthy deals in recent years, often working without a contract for TNA, regularly talking up the freedom of his own schedule and whatnot, and the money that he's been making, because the dude, like I said, he's been absolutely killing it, man. If there's ever a wrestler who gets released, who questions whether there's a future for them in the business, who questions whether they can still make a living, whether they can make it work, Matt Cardona is the blueprint on how to make it work. It will take a lot of work, but you can make yourself an even bigger star by hustling, by running the hard yards. So would Matt Cardona want to give up that freedom to return to WWE if there was a chance? That's up to him. And Cardona's in that privileged spot where, I say privilege, it's a spot he's 100% earned, where he's one of those rare independent wrestlers who might make more money on the indies than he would in WWE. The other side of that, though, he has regularly talked about wanting to get back to WWE, and obviously his wife now works there too, Chelsea Green. And there is that great Kevin Owens line when he's on the Cody Rhodes podcast, and he's like, Matt Cardona, the indie god, and he's like, yeah, for the indie god or whatever, if somebody loves working in the indies, he sure does talk a lot about wanting to come back to WWE and why he's not been rehired. But anyways, for now, at least, Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, has not re-signed with WWE, bar that merchandise deal. Now, of course, Cardona is a TNA regular, was actually in action at yesterday's TNA tapings. And on that front, several TNA deals are said to be up soon. Again, this comes from Fightful Select, which reports that a number of TNA contracts are coming up soon, with AJ Francis named as one of them, the former top dollar. Now, the relationship between Francis and TNA is said to be good. TNA is hopeful of re-signing him, and likewise, AJ Francis is said to be very happy with the opportunity he's been given in TNA. Interestingly, this is a similar situation to last year where AJ Francis actually became a free agent for a short spell before then ultimately re-signing with TNA. There were also reports over the weekend that Zachary Wentz of the Rascals, his deal was coming up at the end of the year as well. Now, Desmond Xavier, announced as Desmond Alexander, which was odd, but made his TNA return at Turning Point on Friday. Surprise partner for the Rascals, to the surprise of nobody, but that was kind of by design. The former Wesley, if you only know him from WWE, from NXT, and it said, Desmond is not actually under contract with TNA, but that creative plans are in place for him in the company. But with Desmond not under contract, and with Wentz's deal up soon, there is said to be plenty of interest in the Rascals as a whole, because, you know, they could become, well, it could be the whole app might even be free agents, who knows, but I love some Rascals, man. Whatever version of the Rascals we're talking about, just such a fun team to watch. Which reminds me, Desmond Xavier was challenging HOG World Champion Charles Mason last night at House of Glory Super Clash, which is on my watch list for this afternoon. I mean, I will always show some love to HOG, man. Such a fun product. And that Mike Santana run as the HOG World Champion was just absolutely phenomenal. I had a lot of fun, that, man. So many banger matches. I mean, speaking of which, that decision to... lol TNA, man. That decision to have Santana drop the TNA World title already, that was certainly a choice. Again, TNA is another company that I'll always root for, that I'll always try to cover as much as I can here, that I'll always push to cover as much as I can. I am that guy saying, let's talk about TNA. But geez, man, sometimes you just cannot get away from the lol TNA. And that was certainly the case with taking the title off Santana this past week. Yes, it's great heat, brother. It's all about the journey back to the top, to getting revenge, to making it back to the top of the mountain. But yeah, that was just such a dumb decision. And I love me some Frankie Kazarian. And it's great to see Kaz finally win the TNA World title, but not now and not in this way. That's something I could go on about for hours. So I will just move away from the creative decision to take the world title off Mike Santana already. But you know what? While I'm talking about Santana and while I'm mentioning House of Glory, I might as well just get straight into it and talk about Mercedes Mone winning another world title. This was going to be our fourth and final story today, but I'm switching things around. Sorry to editor Ryan. But yes, Mercedes Mone is now 13 belts Mone. And while I've not yet watched the whole Super Clash event, that's for later today, along with UFC 322. But while I've not watched all of Super Clash, I have seen that Mercedes won herself a 13th title. Yes, the CEO is now the new APAC Women's Champion, defeating Nor Phoenix Diana for that title last night. Now, Phoenix is a two-time APAC Women's Champion, and that brings her reign to an end at 763 days. And so, deep breath, Mercedes Mone is now the AEW TBS Champion, the AEW Women's Owen Hart Cup Champion, the CMLL Women's Champion, the Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Champion, which also includes the Queen of Southside Championship, the EWA Women's Champion, the Primetime Wrestling Women's Champion, the Bestia Women's Champion, the Discovery Wrestling Scottish Women's Champion, the Body Slam Women's Champion, the Interim ROH Women's TV Champion, the WPW Women's Champion, and the APAC Women's Champion. Oh, I'm going to lie down after that. That is get my breath back. Also, Mercedes, I should probably add as well, has a chance to add another title to her collection on Wednesday when she faces Red Velvet in a title unification match. Now, Red Velvet is the ROH Women's TV Champion. Mercedes is the interim ROH Women's TV Champion, and they're having a unification match on this week's Dynamite. And yes, a unification match usually means, you know, a unification, two becoming one. But of course, I'm sure those belts will be classified as being a separate entities. So we'll have 14 belts Mone on Wednesday. And then there's also the small matter of Mercedes challenging for the AEW Women's World title at Full Gear as the Ultimo Mone, the belt collector, continues on. And for me, I'd actually have Mercedes lose to Statlander at Full Gear, then start the downward spiral, losing belt after belt. But then that only kind of really pays off. All of this only really pays off if Mercedes revisits all of those promotions, dropping those titles to the promotions, you know, top stars or upcoming talents. I just hope this is not a case of we get to a point where it's just, it's going to kind of vacate a bunch of those. But we'll see. And someone who some eager fans did not see yesterday was Bill Goldberg. You see, Bill Goldberg was supposed to be doing a virtual signing event for KNS WrestleFest yesterday. Now, Bill Goldberg was at the big event in New York, which it sounded like a lot of fun, man. I heard the Solomonster mention it a few times the past week, and it sounded like it's going to be great. Lots of celebrities there, lots of wrestlers. Shout out to Jason, by the way, always doing such awesome work and putting out such great content. But yeah, the big event had a bunch of celebrities there, a bunch of wrestlers, and supposedly Bill Goldberg was seen there smiling, happy, chatting to people, taking pictures, taking photos. There's some photos of him catching up with Sting, but Bill Goldberg, well, Bill Goldberg didn't make his appearance for K&S. In a statement from K&S, here we go. Unfortunately, Goldberg, you missed the bill out there. Unfortunately, Goldberg private signing did not happen. We had all our items laid out ready to sign as Bill Goldberg, was doing another private for another vendor. After he was done, he got up and said he was done. He walked out past our stuff and left. We were all super disappointed and frustrated. My apologies to all. Now, Bill Goldberg has yet to comment on this, and it remains to be seen whether any further information will come out. But yes, those K&S customers wanted some signed Bill Goldberg stuff, were obviously left disappointed. Bill Goldberg. And with that, be sure to check out the other excellent video that's floating around here somewhere. This has been What Culture Wrestling, the solo Sunday news. Myself, Andrew Pollard. Be well, stay safe, and I will catch you next weekend.